So thank you very much for coming. I feel very privileged to be here. I feel a little bit of a fraud because I'm not Irish. I apologise about that. It's an accident of birth, that's all it is. I also feel very privileged because I think I'm here as an artist. I'm not here as a politician. So I can say I don't know a lot. And I can also get things wrong a lot. And that's okay. Just as long as you're aware of that. I might get a few things wrong. I want to talk a little bit, but the thing I want to talk about to start with actually is acting. So we're going to do some acting later on in this session. I have to warn you that's going to happen. We're going to do a little bit of acting. And the acting is going to be inspired by a book that I bought in New York. I was in New York about 3 years ago and I was doing a show of mine called An Oak Tree. An Oak Tree is a play that has 2 actors in it. I'm one of the actors and the second actor is different every time. They meet me an hour before the show and they don't know the play, they haven't read the play, and then I guide them through the drama of the play. And for the press night of that production in New York, I bought my producers a book. And that book I have recently purchased again on Amazon. And it's an enlightening publication. It's called In Character, Actors Acting. And it's by a photographer called Howard Schatz. There, but with a substitution of a different vowel, might be a more appropriate name. Howard Schatz, what Howard Schatz has done, everyone, it's quite inspired really, is he's invited a lot of very famous actors into his photographic studio. And then he's given actors, these actors, luminaries, scenarios to act out, and then he's taken photographs of them. And the book is called Actors Acting. So today we're going to catch a glimpse of some actors acting. The guy who's written the foreword, a guy called Roger Ebert, has said, "This is a wonderful book for reasons beyond its obvious appeal. It is not just actors making faces, but actors extending themselves into imaginary situations as if, for a moment, they are real. To journey through the book and see familiar faces was to realise how much I have come to love actors and to appreciate the gifts they bring." So I've never done this before, but I have a PowerPoint presentation for you of some actors acting. So just in case you're out and about and you see someone, you're not entirely sure what they're doing. You think, I wonder, are they acting? Then the photographs you'll see that will punctuate my speech today will help as a sort of visual reminder. So the first photograph is of a rather wonderful actress called Edie Falco. She's quite well known from The Sopranos, the American actress. And this is Edie Falco acting. The scenario that she was given by Mr. Schatz is this. You are a mother thinking about how to tell your children that you're leaving their father. Has everyone had enough time with that? I've got a few. I'm going to give you one more, and then we'll come back as a little treat, like a little sorbet. The next one is an actor called Charles S. Dutton, and this is Charles S. Dutton acting here. Here he is acting for the photographer Howard Schatz. What he's acting, the scenario, and Howard says in the book, he lets the actors be with the scenario for a few minutes to really find themselves and the reality of the scenario that they're going to play. And the scenario that Charles here is playing is this. You are a salesman back from a long road trip, being welcomed by your wife in a particularly intimate way. This is Charles doing some acting. I want to talk a little bit about myself, I'm afraid. So I feel a bit of a fraud in lots of ways, but in one way I feel a bit of a fraud because I don't think I'm an expert greatly. I'm not an expert in the academic world of theatre. I'm not a huge expert in world theatre. I haven't read that many plays, although I did go to university, but a long, long time ago. But I have to say as well that not being an expert can sometimes be a very good thing, actually. It has enabled me, I think, to not worry so much about getting things right. So I have been many things in theatre. I was a radical member of a theatre collective in Bristol in the 1980s and early 90s. I then went a bit giddy and went to drama school and got very excited about getting an agent. Which is strange because the theatre company in Bristol was really quite politically active. And we performed in prisons and village halls and community centres. But there was something in an actor which you might identify in actors that you know, or if you are an actor in yourself, about really wanting to be on television. And really wanting to get an agent and wanting to go to drama school. So I went to drama school and I got an agent and I spent another 5 or so years getting very excited about new spotlight photographs. And the clarity of my skin. And agonizing because I don't know if you've noticed, I had by that time begun to lose my hair, which is a disaster for an actor. So I did that, and actually was on Coronation Street for a bit, and my wife's aunt was heard for the first time ever to describe me as her nephew. Is the power of television. And found myself in my late 30s, here's a confession, in a most terrible, execrable Sky television drama about an airline called Fresh Air. And I was playing a captain called Captain Richard Beardsley, who was a bit of a Lothario. And one episode of this particular Sky television programme found me in a studio in East London wearing nothing but a leather posing pouch and a pilot's hat. And I was about 37 at the time. And I had a good degree, and I'd been a politically engaged collective member of the cooperative. And it was my big break in a way. It was a whole series. And it was very hot in the studio, and I remember sweat dribbling down the crack between my 2 buttocks just here. And thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? What have I invested in for maybe 15 years by that time, maybe a bit more than 15 years? How many permutations had I placed myself into? And how had those permutations led me to be in this studio with sweat dribbling between my cheeks, wearing a leather posing pouch? So this is sort of where I came to the point where I started to write, really. I didn't start to write until I was in my late 30s. And I think, again, not being an expert, I also think having had that strange mix of experiences as a performer, not really engaging. I started a PhD a few years before I found myself in that television studio, which added to the piquancy of the situation in a way. And couldn't do a PhD, did not have a brain to understand French philosophy, really. Could not deal with that at all. Could not even get beyond the introduction to a book on post-dramatic theatre. So I'm a bit of a floating voter, really, in all this. I've done some Tom Stoppard. I did an Agatha Christie play at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry. I made a very committed piece about the workers' theatre movement in Bristol in pre-Second World War. And all these influences, I suppose, now are slowly finding their expression to a degree in the work that I do.